what I would say to the audience, and if you're planning on investing at a distance, is obviously like, yes, focus on your team, but make sure that you do your research and your groundwork before doing like me and putting a property on the contract and then trying to figure out with the anxiety that comes with it.
Hello, and welcome back to the Very Real Estate Effect podcast, a show dedicated to real estate investing all over North America. It is a pleasure today to record outside of Montreal to have a wonderful guest who's been on the show already. And I'd like to welcome Mr. Rodrigo Parada to the podcast. How's it going, man?
Pretty good. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're at the event. We are both, as I just mentioned, not in Montreal. We're in St. Louis, Missouri, attending a real estate conference. It's been a blast for the last 3 days. And we have this opportunity to use the studio here. And as you know, you've been following for a while. Rodrigo's been on the show twice already. This is his third time. Every single time has been a really good episode, and I know today is going to be one of them. And before we go any further, I just want to remind you, please leave us some comments, share some feedback. If you have any recommendations, questions, reach out to me. Let me know what you'd like to hear about, and I'll make sure to go get an expert who answers those questions. And most importantly, share this episode with a friend who could benefit from this very conversation, because it will help us reach more people like yourself. So, Rodrigo, I think the last time on the show was about a year ago. You've been up to plenty of things since then. So help us catch up a little bit. What are you working on right now?
Okay, so I've basically, since I've been on the show, I've actively invested in Alberta. So we bought a 38 unit property over there that we closed on last year. We bought this property in Rocky Mountain House, which is a secondary / tertiary market over there. And it's just been a great learning opportunity. Set up a team over there, have the right stakeholders to help us through the transaction. And we're in it right now. We're in the optimization and stabilization phase.
All right. And so how long ago did you close on that?
So we actually closed on that last October. So we're in March now, right?
Okay. So it's been, about 6 months of getting into it. And that I remember, I mean, you told me about this deal almost a year ago. I think it was quite the process because now you're investing at a distance. You live and you're based in Montreal. You're closing properties in Alberta. Can you kind of walk us through how you've been able to make that happen?
Yeah, with pleasure. So basically the key to a lot of this is, as you know, and you've been mentioning on this podcast and this platform for years now, it's basically just networking. I've joined a group and met my new partners in that group, and we just built the team from the ground up, and we started looking at properties, putting them under contract. I flew out there during the acquisition process, and that's how we found this property. So from the moment that we basically did the standard due diligence, the standard acquisition process, then it was after that we had to find our property manager, lawyers, the core four, as some would call it.
Yeah.
And then we just put it on the contract. We purchased it, and that was it. One thing that I would share with the audience is, we look at buying properties as specific and independent items or events, but the template is roughly the same. The only thing that I would want to share is there's always different challenges, and the challenge for this particular transaction was finding the right lender that could support the vision and the plan that we had for this opportunity. Mm-hmm. Like I said, tertiary market. We had a 55% vacancy rate in the building when we bought it.
Well, that's great.
It is great, but it is a bit challenging on the lending side.
On the financing, for sure.
Yeah. So that was basically the biggest learning experience of the acquisition process is not going expecting to have the same resources that you would have, let's say, in Quebec.
Yeah, where you know the market, where you already have a team in place. As much as you have partners that are over there, it takes a good network to be able to close that at a distance. So I'm curious because you just mentioned it was challenging when it comes to financing. Why? They have banks in Alberta. Like, what was so different?
Yeah, they do. It's just the markets over there. It's not the same as what we have seen in Quebec.
In what sense? How is it different?
The Albertan economy is different on real estate. There's boom cycles based on the oil industry, so it just creates a different lending landscape. And in our case, because we had this actual asset that had the 55% vacancy and all of those characteristics, I was just about explaining the project properly to the lender that was going to come on board.
Mm-hmm.
And just to give you an example, out of we worked with a broker, and they, I think, approached 7 lenders, and only one of them accepted to actually look at the file.
What? It's just an optimization project.
I do understand what you're saying, but this is one of the challenges that we had to deal with. So what I would say to the audience, and if you're planning on investing at a distance, is obviously, like, yes, focus on your team, but make sure that you do your research and your groundwork before doing like me and putting a property on the contract and then trying to figure out with the anxiety that comes with it. Yeah, that would be my first step.
Yeah, the challenges. And sometimes also the best thing to do is just you throw yourself in there. I recently met someone who said, I'm the type of guy who jumps out of an airplane and then tries to build a parachute on the way down.
Yeah.
You know that guy?
Yeah, I think I do.
Yeah, you put it under contract and then you figure it out, and it seems like it turned out well. Like, you had also mentioned, like, off the air, talking about this actually on the flight here, how much of a challenge and a learning experience this whole transaction had been, because it really forced you outside of your comfort zone, not just from a deal structure, not just from the distance, also because the way the deal had been structured and the capital had been raised, that it really pushed you to do a lot of homework and build something else.
Yes. So one of the things that we ended up doing with this acquisition is we basically were able to secure some of the capital to close through loans that were issued out of registered funds. Now, I won't get into all of the details here. This is a separate conversation. And also, I'm not a professional, so you would have to do your due diligence before looking into this. But basically, that was one of the strategies that we were able to raise the capital for closing this deal. So that strategy, or that way of investing or getting access to those funds, requires a certain level of sophistication, requires a certain level of understanding of the laws and the security laws around it. But that was also something kind of like what you alluded to, that I just basically decided to jump out of the plane and figure out as I was going. So I'm not saying that you should be doing that or looking to do it, but ideally get the information prior before getting to the close of the transaction. So it was incredibly challenging. We basically tried to do it the conventional way, which is to secure these loans with a second rank mortgage on properties that have the equity on them.
Yeah.
But based on the idea and the principle that I had other partners with me in this deal for me to take all that risk, quote unquote, on my own.
Wait, you were going to take all that risk on yourself because you were going to use your properties to secure it?
That's it.
Yeah, well, I can understand you not wanting to do that for the deal.
Well, yeah, we were surrounded by the right legal counsel, and they objectively said that maybe you shouldn't be doing that. And I said, I do understand. So we tried to go down a different route, which led to close to 9 months of trying to figure out a different strategy to get these funds, which we were able to secure not too long ago at the end of last year. So we basically created what's called a mutual fund trust, and that's how I was able to secure these funds finally. And all that to say that basically it's been incredibly challenging to close this, not just for investing in it at a distance, working with different partners, different markets, understanding the culture also, the market over there, because Alberta is different from what I'm used to of investing in Quebec actively. But yeah, that was another component of that transaction that added a bit of spice to it, if I could put it that way.
Well, it definitely adds a lot of spice, but at the same time, like, you were pushed in a corner where you had to be creative. You were going to close on this, and so it ended up pushing you to basically set up a fund. So that's a fabulous undertaking, because now it's a springboard to bigger, better deals further, because it's pushed you to create a vehicle in order to take other people's resources and use them to buy deals together.
Yes, that's it. Like basically anything that's worth it in life. It was
hard.
Yes, it was hard, but it was also created out of necessity, right? So I'm somebody that I'm now comfortable saying that when I'm pushed in the corner, I just figure out a way and I push on through. I would say that's my biggest strength. I don't give up. I'm a resilient person, and this was just another manifestation of me going through a challenge and figuring out how to do it. I have this unshakable belief in myself and my capabilities, and I'm surrounding myself with the people that have the same. And it's a team sport. So once you have people that are similar and share the same qualities that you have, I think that you become unstoppable.
Absolutely. And I've now known you for a couple of years, and what I admire, and I'll say it openly on the air, is that whatever stage you were at, you were always striving to do more. And I remember the first time you were on the show, and I encourage everybody who's listening, go back and rewind maybe 150 episodes, because that's literally what it's been. And I remember you and I were so excited when we closed a triplex. And it was great at the time, but look at the evolution that we've had over this period. And now, probably back then, if someone would have said, "Oh yeah, eventually you'll buy some 30 unit plus in Alberta," you would have said, "I get out of here." Maybe in 10 years, and you did it in 2 or 2.5. Now you've set up this financial entity to be able to vehicle those other people's resources. Now, I mean, what's coming next for you? Like, what do you have in the pipeline right now?
So we actually have another 18 unit in Alberta under contract that we put under contract yesterday, and I'm actually actively and aggressively looking for new builds in our home province in Quebec. I'm coming back home. Je reviens à maison.
Yeah.
So looking to buy on plans, looking to structure deals that would tend to fit a different criteria. I've always been up to this stage more into the BRRRR type of deals. Doesn't matter the number of units, but basically buy something, renovate it, rehab it, get it tenanted again, refinance, keep on going. I think that 2023 taught me that I need to start diversifying in my strategies and looking at it differently. And also going back to one of the theme that you mentioned earlier, the networking aspect of it is the more that you're in events like we are right now, in a different country, but either in a different province or you meet different people, you're also going to meet different types of investors. So I realized that the majority of the investors that I had up until, let's say, a year and a half ago were similar to where I was financially, where, a quick turnaround, ideally 2 to 3 years max, we get back the capital and then we go and find another deal and we keep on going. But there's other types of or categories of investors. Some people are looking for more capital preservation plays. They're looking more for an equity play more than a cash flow, get out of your T4 lifestyle type of deal. So, I mean, it's up to me in that position to realign what I'm doing based on who I'm talking to. Basically, just figuring out my audience, then catering the message, and that's all done through networking. Really, like we have an amazing opportunity right now to be in St. Louis in Missouri, listening to Americans talk about real estate investing.
And it's very different.
It is incredibly
different. Yeah. And so wait, I just want to pause and make a parenthesis here. And I've said it on the show for the last 3 years. I start by saying this is a real estate investing show about right here in Quebec. And then sometimes now I say it less and less, and it's more about in Canada. And now I want to say in North America and really just anywhere. And we talked about with Rodrigo about actually how good it feels to be talking to investors that have a bigger vision, that don't come with as much preconceived ideas, which I hate to say, I see more and more of in Quebec now. And just coming here was such a good breath of fresh air.
Well, yes, and it forces you to expand what you believe is achievable or not. And I think that's a great thing. But personally, being of the cultural background that I am and being born and raised in Montreal, my parents are Latino, my mom's from El Salvador, my dad's from Chile. If you just look at what's happening in Salvador right now, like El Salvador is Costa Rica 10 to 15 years ago in terms of tourism. And the president over there just declared a few days ago that there's no income tax for foreign investors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from 30 to 0%.
Opportunity, my friend.
Exactly.
Go home.
So the moment that you have that calling, the moment that's part of your DNA, whether you're from there or that's an investment thesis that you have, yes, it's good to understand what's happening in your own backyard, but it's also incredibly important to start looking at what's done elsewhere. You're doing yourself a disservice if you don't do that.
Yeah.
and the quicker you get to it, the better you'll be off.
And being here in the US now, it just reminded me of opportunities. And I would highly encourage everyone to step out of their comfort zone. Something we talked about here. Step out of their regular sphere, because all of a sudden, one, here it feels like there's just a lot more opportunity and things are, I wouldn't say simpler, they're just more open. And then number two, and I'm not going to say I'm a huge investor. I'm a tiny investor. I am the size of what I am and what I'm doing. And I've been sharing some of those projects for a long time. It's just that I want to feel like the dumbest guy in the room, because I know I'm with bigger people who are doing greater things. And the level of vision is a huge determinant of how your daily actions will translate. Mm-hmm. And I know you've been really good on that. And sometimes I hear you in conversation talk about some of the guys here who are closing like 300 or 400 units at a time. And you're just very blind, like, hey, I'm an investor from Canada. How can I jump in and help you with this deal? And je caricature un petit peu là. I may be simplifying it, but that's kind of what you're doing. And so from I was going to say, not a psychological, but from a mindset point of view, it just feels so good to be here. And I want to hear a little bit more about your experience, and I say this because I feel like I've hung out a lot in Quebec now. And don't get me wrong, I really like it. It is home. You've been in Quebec. You've also been in Alberta and a bit elsewhere in Canada. And now coming to the US, it just feels like it's the Wild West.
Well, yeah, it is. We just had a presentation by somebody who's investing in billboards. So just that then and there, it's just a different aspect of real estate investing that I wasn't exposed to before. But I would say, like, basically it boils down to the law of proximity, right? Like, if you are in the environment of people that are achieving bigger and better things than you are at the moment, then it's only a matter of time before you achieve bigger and better things. And another thing that I would share, or that kind of changed my mindset into what I'm getting out of these events, is you got to have a clear understanding of what you want. Not necessarily to become an asshole and only ask of people, but you might have just one chance to shake the hand of somebody that you've been listening to for the past few years on a podcast, or that has books that you've read, and you just have a 30-second, and you want to make sure that whatever you can get out of that interaction that can lead up to something else potentially after is clear for them, and then they can help you. The one thing that I'm still amazed by to this day is, you would think that the people that have achieved big things would want to, just keep it to themselves and not share. But it's the complete opposite. The moment that you just show that you're interested in either the industry or a specific aspect of what they're doing in their business specifically, they want to share with you. Like, it's all about success. And it's the same thing with me. Whenever I meet somebody that hasn't put a deal under contract, or they're just starting out, or they're at the stage that I'm at, and they're asking me a question, I'm an open book. Your success is my success, and there's enough for everybody to eat. So I think that's one of my biggest takeaways from doing these things, is just put yourself out there. I mean, you have so much to gain, and we have so much to share as human beings, whether we've accomplished big things or not yet. Yeah. And it's not just about the business. Like, there's amazing conversations to be had with other people that are trying to put a deal under contract, or trying to get a refi, or closing on a transaction, or doing a renovation, and they have kids or they don't, and there's always a piece of the story that you can relate to and add your input to it, and that's how you create actual bonds, right? Like, we bond through hardships, we bond through challenges, and it's sometimes just realizing that you're not the craziest person that you know, but there's other crazy folks like you that are trying to do something outside the box, and get to connect with them. So yeah, it's amazing. I think it's probably the best thing that people should be doing ASAP whenever they start real estate investing or any form of entrepreneurship, is just get out there, meet people, shake hands, be genuinely intrigued and interested by what people are doing, and you will get back what you give out. That's for sure.
As you said that, it made me think of one of the exercise that we did on the first day, where anyway, I'm not going to describe it, but the conclusion was that you may be at home right now listening to this. You may be running. You may be in your car. Wherever you are, know that you are not alone going through all the questions, the challenges that you face in buying your first, second, third, 15th property. Okay, and I'm going to take a pause because I want to let that sink in. You are not alone. I created this podcast to help you to go through this. You're taking a step by listening to it. You're listening a step by reaching out to Rodrigo if you have questions, so maybe he can give you some answers. And if you want to help yourself, join a local community. The quality and the size of the peer group is a huge factor and determinant in your level of success, what you will achieve, how quickly you'll achieve it. That's, as Rodrigo mentioned, the law of proximity. Just by hanging out with the best jewelers in the world, you're going to start to make beautiful rings. And you can take this analogy to whatever it is that you want. You want to lose weight and run better? Go hang out with some runners. Naturally, you're going to get up more in the morning, put your boots on, your shoes, running shoes, and then go out for runs. It's applicable to every aspect of your life, but only you can make that choice. So stop procrastinating, get off your butt, and go and do it.
Damn right.
Oh boy, there's been so many things I want to share, like, and I'm now more focusing on like the event and what we've been going through over the last 3 days. And for example, this morning we did a really good exercise about limiting beliefs, and all of us, you, me, you listening, we are our biggest obstacles in life. And we say, oh no, I can't do this. I want to buy a triplex. And then I don't think I can buy another property. I'd love to buy a 12 unit, but it's too big, or I can't find money, or we find all the reasons in the world why we can't do it. And really all of that is just in our head. It's just between our two ears that we limit ourselves. And those limiting beliefs need to be eradicated. You can have an impact on this. You can choose what you believe in and reprogram yourself to put just better software, more positive software in there. And so do you want to describe what we did this morning with the wood?
Oh yeah. So the exercise was, we needed to. So we had this plank of wood. It's kind of like what those Taekwondo shows do, where everybody's like breaking them. And so we had one of those, and on one side you had to write what your limiting belief was, and then on the other side, what you were going to do about it, basically at a high level. So you would do that, and then you have somebody holding the plank for you, and then you need to punch through it. And that's basically punching or breaking through, which is the theme of this conference, breaking through your limiting beliefs. And the one thing that I can add on that, on the limiting beliefs thing, is everybody has them. Somebody that says that they don't have them, or I don't know, like they never had them, I think that's either a lie or they're not aware of what it means. But it's important for us to be able to recognize them so we can deal with them. And at the end of the day, we are amazing human beings. Every single one of us is capable of great things if we allow ourselves to actually believe that that's possible. And again, going back on the theme of being surrounded by other people doing amazing things, and being in your network, Excel, and thanks to Terry also, by the way, for the opportunity to be here. But you end up realizing that, just problems are just opportunities and workflows. So the moment that you look at the issue from a different perspective is when you actually start to take action to deal with it. And that could be something that's internal, external, business or not, or even, socially, whatever it is. And that's like something that I hope everybody can start focusing on is we can do this. We can do this, definitely.
We can do this. And as you were saying, talking about this, like you said, like, oh, every problem is an opportunity
In workflows, yeah.
In workflow, absolutely. And the thing is, where I find it's really good to come down south, I find there's a different vibe and attitude towards that. Whereas sometimes back home we have a tendency to state and really reinforce that it's a problem, like maybe there'll be a solution. And here is just like, whatever, get over it, move on, and they're not as stuck on it. Anyways, the point I wanted to make is that coming here reminded me of how many opportunities there are just in real estate.
Yep.
So many different asset classes. Like there's a gentleman who made us a presentation about how you can buy land and really just invest in mining rights. I didn't know you could do this. Like you can invest and buy land, and really you rent your land to various companies who extract because you have the rights and the title to everything that's underneath. And they break it down in a very easy way. And it's literally just like buying a small piece of land. And then, as you said about the billboards and I'll pass, there's like 12 other opportunities that my eyes were more accustomed to now. And how good that feels, because I know I'm going to come home so pumped up and motivated. And obviously, like, I'm not going to try to do all of it because that's impossible, but just it's very refreshing, because over time we have the tendency to try to kind of narrow down and stick to our niche and kind of forget about everything else there is out there. And to go back to the original statement of like a problem is just opportunities with a workflow, I tell my kids, like, there's no problems in life anymore. There's only solutions. It's just about how you're going to choose to go past it.
Yeah, 100%. And again, like reinforcing the idea that you need to come to events like this is going back to what you were saying about the jewels and things like that. There's a quote that I love from The Richest Man in Babylon is, you don't go see the bricklayer for advice on how to buy jewels. And the quicker that we learn that and apply it to our lives, the fastest that our lives become easier.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah. So no, I mean, thank you for the opportunity to be here. I mean, I'm always happy to share with the public conversation that we have. You're basically the reason why I became who I am. Your platform enabled me to start networking, putting the emphasis on that again, and meet other investors and start leveling up and scaling up my investing career. And I want to thank you. It's been quite the ride.
Thank you. Well, it's always been a pleasure for you to come on the show, for us to hang out, because now we've become friends more than anything, and I know we're going to go very far in the future. So it's been a pleasure, Rodrigo. And for all those who are listening, just get ready, because it's not the last time. It's the third time, but there'll be many more.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. As usual, share this episode with a friend who could benefit from this conversation. Oh, and lastly, like, if people want to get in touch with you because they have questions, what's the best way to do so?
So I'm on Facebook, Rodrigo Parada. You can add me there. If not, on Instagram, Rodrigo_adastra. And I'll share with Axel my link tree so you can reach out to me, book a call, whatever it is. I'm looking to help as many people as possible, and I am the solution provider for real estate investors that are trying to close bigger deals. So reach out.
There you go. Thank you, everybody, for listening in. If you're running, driving, or just at home doing some chores, keep doing it. As usual, research your market, make some offers. I'll talk to you next week. Thank you.